Alright, this topic is called Order of Operations with Whole Numbers and Grouping Symbols. That's a lot of fancy math. What it kind of is saying is we're going to be doing some just looking at numbers that are kind of connected by operations, and grouping symbols means that there's going to be some parentheses or brackets involved. There's a video a little bit, maybe a step down from this one if you're not quite ready for this one, that only has how to work through an expression that has plus, minus, division, and multiplication. Then this would be the step up after that. We're bringing in those four operations plus parentheses. So that's what we're doing here. Whole numbers means that you're not going to have any negative numbers in these problems. So you're kind of just starting from the basics. What order do I add, subtract, multiply, and divide without having to worry about any negative numbers? All right. So I mentioned grouping symbols. Grouping symbols are parentheses. They can look like that, or you can also have brackets that look like this. Generally, they don't use the brackets unless there's a bunch of stuff to kind of set aside, or if you also have a set of parentheses inside the brackets. And we'll kind of talk about that as we start to work through some problems. Just as a reminder of what order we do operations in, if you're thinking of something called PEMDAS, that's pretty much what we're doing. We're just ignoring the exponent part for this video. So what your order of operations is you need to look for parentheses first, or grouping symbols, which would also be brackets. Then after you get your parentheses done, then you would look for multiplication and division. And for multiplication and division, it doesn't mean that you go through and look for all the multiplication, then you stop and go back and look through for all the division. You want to see which one pops up first as you move from left to right. That's how that works. And it's very similar, because after you get done with multiplication and division, addition and subtraction is handled the same way. You don't, just because the word add is listed first here, I mean there's got to be one word that's listed first, it just happens to be add. You actually just want to go through the problem from left to right, just the same order that you read a sentence, and look for either one of those, and whichever one comes up first, that's what you would tackle. Alright, so let's do an example. I think sometimes having too many words spoken at you is definitely not very helpful. Alright, so we're going to do 8 times, there's my bracket, and inside my bracket I have a lot of stuff to tackle. So in parentheses I have 12 minus 2, then I have divided by 2, minus 1, and there my bracket ends. Alright, so what we need to do is we want to go right to the brackets. Alright, so what I'm looking at is this section here. And even inside the brackets, I need to tackle the list that's up above. I need to look for parentheses in here. That's our first thing. So there are parentheses, and so we need to take care of that. I'm a big proponent of having people write out things as they go along. Like, even though you're recopying everything, I think it's a smart move. It slows you down. I think probably like 50 to 60% of mistakes people make on order of operations is honestly just like going so fast. And by rewriting, you're kind of keeping yourself very organized. So anyways, back to our parentheses. 12 take away 2 will give us 10. Notice I don't need to put those parentheses anymore. We've evaluated it, so they are gone. Alright, finishing up with my brackets. I'm still inside the bracket, so I have to look for what comes after parentheses. So that would be multiplication and division. So as I go from left to right, I see a 10 divided by 2. So I'm going to rewrite that. 10 divided by 2 is 5. The next part in my parentheses, I'm down to one operation, so there's no choice about what I can or can't do. I have an 8 times, and 5 take away 1 is 4. I'm not going to put a parentheses or a bracket anymore because I've evaluated everything and I'm just down to one number. That's kind of a nice feeling. Now I have one last operation to do. It's multiplication, and 8 times 4 gives me 32. Alright, let's try another one. We're going to follow the same exact orders of things. We're going to look for parentheses first. We're going to look for multiplication and division after that. Then we're going to look for addition and subtraction after that. Okay, let's try 6 divided by, I'm going to open a bracket, 6 times 13 minus 8 minus 28, closing the brackets. Okay, so first thing I need to do is go right into the brackets and look for parentheses. I have a set of parentheses, so I need to take care of those first. So I'm going to copy, 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 and copy, copy. Alright, I hit the parentheses. I don't want to rewrite the parentheses. My goal is to get rid of them. 13 minus 8 is 5. And then I copy all the rest. I still have work to do in that parentheses, so I've done the parentheses inside the parentheses, My next thing would be to multiply or divide, and right off the bat I can see that I do have a multiplication multiplication problem that I have to do. So I'm going to tackle that next. 6 times 5 will give me 30, copying everything else as it is. Last thing, there's one operation left inside the parentheses, it's subtraction. And when I go to rewrite, I'm not going to put a parentheses or a bracket anymore because my goal was to get rid of the parentheses and the bracket, and I've done that. 30 take away 28 gives me 2. I'm now left with just one small division problem. 6 divided by 2, I know will be 3. Alright, I'm going to do another example. If you feel like you're ready to try maybe one on your own, what you could do is copy down this problem and then like hit pause, give it a whirl on your own, see how it feels, come back and hit play and see if you got it right. If you still want to kind of watch another example, definitely stay tuned. I'm going to do one more after this one. So you'll have a chance at that point to kind of test yourself if that's what you feel like doing. Alright. First things first, I'm looking inside my bracket and there is parentheses to be done. So that's what I'm going to do. I have a lot of copying to do in the first parts of the problem. Alright, 20 take away 18 gives me 2. Okay, my next part of the problem will be to do some multiplication. Copying, copying. I know, it's a lot of time to spend copying, but still. 3 times 2 gives me 6. Alright, I only have one operation left inside that bracket now. And I know that 1 plus 6 will give me 7. My last step, 35 divided by 7, will give me 5. Cool. I hope that made sense. I'm going to do another problem, but late here. Alright. This one might be a little bit different, only because the bracket that I'm going to have is going to come first. But other than that, just because it looks different, that totally doesn't mean that we change our, it's called an algorithm, but the method that we're going to solve it would stay exactly the same. We're not going to change that. We're still going to start by looking inside of our bracket. We're going to look for the parentheses inside the bracket. We're going to tackle that parentheses inside the bracket. So let's see, 15, 17, that gives me 32. Copying, copying, copying. Inside the bracket, the next thing that I need to look for is any multiplication or division. There is a division problem. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. Now I have one operation left inside the bracket. 4 minus 1 will give me 3. And then 3 times 6 will give me 18. Alright, if you really want one more, I'll do one more. If you feel like you're good, you can mosey on, hit pause, hit stop. I won't know, right? But if you want another chance to kind of challenge yourself and see if you get it right, stay tuned because here comes the last problem I'll do. 2 times, there's my bracket, 2 plus, parentheses, 15 plus 9, divided by 4, end bracket. Alright, inside, this is the part that gets done first. So 2 times, opening up the bracket, 15 plus 9 will give me 24. Inside the bracket, I need to work on my division problem next. So 2, and just as an aside, just so you know, I don't necessarily have to put that times x there for the times. I can just put it next to the bracket, and that just means that you will be multiplying. Alright, 2 plus 24 divided by 6 gives me 4. I now know that 2 plus 4 will give me 6, and when I do that multiplication, that will give me 12. Awesome, thanks for listening.